Tonight, I'm taking you back to a quiet neighborhood in Seattle in 1968. Snow-covered. A 13-year-old boy sits in his room that evening. But at that moment, no one knows that this small curiosity in this room would become the beginning of a revolution that would change the lives of billions of people years later. That boy was Bill Gates, and that night, as he glanced at a computer programming book wedged between his math homework, he was planting the seeds of a revolution that would affect the lives of billions of people. But he wasn't aware of it at that moment. He was just a curious child. But numbers and codes were much more than ordinary homework to him. Who could have known that a small spark igniting in a child's mind would one day become the world's largest technology empire? Tonight, I'll tell you Bill Gates' story. This isn't just an entrepreneur's success story. This is the story of how a vision can change the world, how a childhood friendship can shape the course of history. A calm and contemplative journey where ambition and imagination, competition and cooperation intertwine. William Henry Gates III, born in Seattle in 1955, was not an ordinary child. Despite being the child of a wealthy family, what truly set him apart was the boundless curiosity in his mind. His father, William Gates Sr., was a successful lawyer. His mother, Mary Maxwell Gates, was a teacher and philanthropist. But what truly made little Bill different was his extraordinary intelligence. From childhood, Bill, who attracted attention with exceptional intelligence, had an obsessive interest in numbers and logic games. On Seattle's rainy days, he would sit for hours in front of their house's large window, solving math problems. That sharp gaze, sparkling with curiosity in his eyes, carried the signs of his future visionary leadership even at that age. And here came the moment of destiny. When he stepped into Lakeside School in 1967, he would encounter a technology that would change his life. This private school provided Bill with two things that would change his life forever: an advanced education and, more importantly, access to one of the world's first computer terminals. In those years, computers were giant machines the size of rooms, found only in major universities and government institutions. Lakeside's computer terminal connected to a distant mainframe computer via telephone lines. When Bill first sat in front of that green screen, he was utterly mesmerized, as if his destiny was being shaped before him. The touch of his fingers on the keys, the codes appearing on the screen, the program running, everything awakened a deep passion in him. He looked at the screen with curiosity. At Lakeside, Bill met Paul Allen, who was 2 years older than him. Paul was also passionate about computers. But unlike Bill, he was quieter, more contemplative. Perhaps there was a bit of maturity that came with his age. The two would spend hours in the library, browsing through computer books, then take turns at the terminal trying to write programs. In the winter of 1969, during quiet days when snowfall covered the school in white, Bill and Paul made a discovery. They had found a security vulnerability in the school's computer system. While normal students would see this as a problem, they saw it as an opportunity. In their eyes, this was a mysterious universe whose door had been cracked open. Finding and fixing the system's weaknesses, Bill and Paul received an offer from a company called Computer Center Corporation to report these bugs in exchange for free computer time. For a 14-year-old child, this was like a dream. He could do hours of free programming. In those days, Bill's approach to programming was completely intuitive. He would memorize codes, visualize lines of programs in his mind. While Paul worked more systematically, Bill was more creative and risk-taking. These two different approaches formed the foundation of their future partnership. In 1971, Bill and Paul founded their first venture, Trafo Data. This company was developing a system that analyzed traffic flow on city roads. They had Intel's newly released palm-sized chip in their hands. Using it, they transformed the old-fashioned traffic counters on roads into a computer brain. Think about it. Bill was still a high school student, But while his friends were struggling with class notes, he was starting a real business, finding customers, and beginning to earn his own money. But what was truly important was the confidence this experience gave him. He had seen that technology wasn't monopolized by big companies, that young and creative people could also succeed in this field. During this period, the competitive side of Bill's character became more prominent. He would leave his rivals behind in math Olympiads. But most importantly, he continued to improve himself in programming. Paul was a visionary who liked to see the bigger picture, while Bill was obsessed with details. When Paul said, "This technology will change the world," Bill would say, "There's an error in line 17 of this program." This complementary approach would form Microsoft's future DNA. In 1973, Bill went to Harvard University to study mathematics and computer science. The campus in Cambridge had impressed him, but his heart was always in technology. He attended classes irregularly, spending most of his time in the computer laboratory. His friends found him strange. He was awake at night, sleepy during the day. He would write code for hours at the terminal, surrounded by piled pizza boxes and empty drink bottles. Behind that chaotic mess, however, lay extraordinary intelligence and a crystal-clear vision. In January 1975, Paul Allen brought Bill the historic issue of Popular Electronics magazine showing the Altair 8800 computer on its cover. Bill's eyes lit up as he looked at the photo of that small box. This was the beginning of the personal computer revolution. "Bill, this is our chance," Paul said. "If we don't act now, others will miss this opportunity." Bill immediately took action. He called M-Meets Company and said they could develop the basic programming language for Altair. There was only one problem. They didn't have such software yet. For the next 8 weeks, the duo turned Harvard's laboratory into a second home. Nights blended into days. Between the smell of coffee and the metallic sound of the keyboard, Bill perfected every line of code while Paul built the architecture. A future was being shaped with every keystroke. They worked without ever giving up. And that winter, these lines written in Harvard's cramped laboratory would become the foundation of a giant called Microsoft within a few years. When 19-year-old Bill Gates decided to leave Harvard, his family was worried. "You're leaving one of the best universities," his mother Mary said. But Bill was determined. "This technology train will pass only once," he said, "and I want to be on this train." In April 1975, Bill and Paul founded Microsoft in Albuquerque. The company name came from microcomputer software. The office was small, resources were limited, but their dreams were too big to fit in buildings. Their first product, Altair Basic, was a great success. When computer enthusiasts copied this software and distributed it for free, Bill got angry. In his writing published under the title Open Letter, he argued that software was also intellectual property and that developers should be compensated for their labor. This letter laid the foundations of the software industry. During this period, Bill's characteristic features became even clearer. He was obsessed with details, competitive, and absolutely uncompromising. While reviewing code, he could shout, "This is nonsense," and spend hours correcting a single line. Employees both loved and feared him. Paul, on the other hand, provided balance as a calmer, clearer partner. While Bill focused on strategy and marketing, Paul thought about product development and the big picture. This duo created the perfect harmony of Microsoft's early years with their different characters. The year 1980 was a turning point for Microsoft. IBM wanted an operating system from Microsoft to enter the personal computer market. Bill understood the magnitude of this opportunity. Working with IBM could make Microsoft the industry leader. But there was only one problem. Microsoft didn't have an operating system, and time was running out. But Bill didn't panic. He bought a system called QDOS, Quick and Dirty Operating System. Developed by Tim Patterson from Seattle and adapted it for the IBM PC, MS-DOS was born this way. The IBM deal showcased Bill's negotiation skills. Microsoft obtained not only software development fees, but also licensing rights. This meant that every company making IBM-compatible computers would pay money to Microsoft. The signature thrown at that table would shape the future of home computers. The success of MS-DOS moved Microsoft to a completely different league. It was no longer just a small software company, but one of the key players in the industry. Bill's vision was beginning to come true. A computer in every home, on every desk, and Microsoft software on that computer. During this period, Bill's work style was noticed by everyone. His meetings had become famous. Behind the toughness was a perfectionist approach. Every product, every line of code had to be perfect. In 1985, Bill and his team launched Windows 1.0. This graphical interface system aimed to revolutionize computer use. However, the first version was truly a disappointment. It was slow, full of errors, and confusing for users. Bill continued on his path with faith in the future, ignoring the waves of criticism. "Windows is the future," he said with determination. He continued working on the system with his team. With each version, bugs were fixed and new features were added. Real success came with Windows 3.0. This version, released in 1990, finally met users' expectations. Colorful icons, multitasking capability, user-friendly interface. Windows was no longer just an operating system. It offered an experience that redefined computer use. During this period, Microsoft's culture was also taking shape. Bill had adopted the A-Team philosophy. He would only hire the most talented employees and give them intensive training. Working hours were long, pressure was intense, but results were extraordinary. Bill's management style was legendary. The meetings, called Bill Reviews, were both employees' nightmare and dream. Bill hated PowerPoint presentations and would tear apart projects that weren't prepared in detail. But these harsh criticisms improved the quality of Microsoft products. In the mid-1990s, Bill noticed a great threat: the Internet. Netscape's browser and Sun Microsystems' Java technology were threatening Microsoft's dominance. Bill immediately sounded the alarm. He made radical decisions against this phenomenon he called the Internet tsunami. He developed Internet Explorer and included it free with Windows. These browser wars brought Microsoft face-to-face with antitrust lawsuits, but Bill didn't back down. During this period, Bill's visionary leadership was at its peak. He wrote the book, The Road Ahead, predicting the future role of the Internet and digital technologies. He predicted that homes would become smart, every device would talk to each other, and information would be democratized. But this constant pressure and competition left deep marks on Bill's soul. He was described in the media as a ruthless monopolist, accused of crushing his competitors. Bill responded to these criticisms by saying, "We make good products, we satisfy our customers." Microsoft was no longer just a company, but a force embedded in the heart of the digital world. Bill Gates had also become the world's richest man, at the top of Forbes lists, on the covers of Time magazine. But this fame bothered Bill. He just wanted to make good software. In 2000, Bill made one of the most important decisions of his life. He announced that he would step back from Microsoft's daily operations and focus on the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. "Technology has changed the world. Now it's time to transform humanity," he said. This decision was surprising to many people. Why was a CEO at the top leaving? Bill's answer was simple: inequality in the world is unacceptable. If technology can solve these problems, I should work in that field. Working in Africa's hot deserts, India's villages, and education classrooms, Bill's perspective changed completely. He worked in a very wide range, from fighting malaria in Africa to education reforms. The former competitive CEO had now become a patient philanthropist. During this process, Bill's personality also softened. His old harsh attitudes gave way to empathy and understanding. "Warren Buffett taught me patience," he said. "Some problems can't be solved overnight. They require generations." In 2008, Bill completely left Microsoft. He handed it over to Steve Ballmer and later to Satya Nadella. During this transition process, instead of the old critical attitude, he displayed supportive leadership. Today, 70-year-old Bill Gates is remembered as one of the most influential figures in technology history. When asked if he regrets leaving Microsoft, he says, "Never. Technology is a tool. The real purpose is to transform people's lives." In his book, Source Code, My Beginnings, published in 2025, Bill, sharing his childhood memories, remembers those Seattle nights. "If you had told little Bill, 'You will change the world one day,' he would have asked, 'How?' Now I know, with patience, determination, and the right people." When Paul Allen passed away in 2018, Bill said, "Without him, Microsoft couldn't exist, and I couldn't be this Bill Gates." This friendship is one of the most beautiful friendship stories in technology history.